Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. GTA 6 Trailer 2 has finally dropped, along with an extensive newswire that Rockstar put out, giving us a whole heap of information on some of the characters, introducing some of the locations. There's so much information to break down and look at, but there is one thing that I really want to focus on, and that is the fan theory that's out there suggesting that Jason could be an undercover cop or potentially working for some other law enforcement agency undercover. And this is what I really want to focus this video on, because it could add a whole new aspect to GTA. We know that this is generally a crime simulator. We've always played a criminal, but what if we are actually playing someone on the law side of things, trying to get into that underground of Vice City? But before we look at the evidence, I just want to make this clear that this is purely a discussion and theory crafting on what we could be seeing in the game. Please don't take this as someone who's trying to pretend that they know something that they really don't. And I really encourage all of you guys to post something in the comments just so that you can share your thoughts and theories on what we might be seeing in the game. But let's get stuck into the evidence that could possibly point us in the direction that Jason is working undercover. The first thing that I want to look at was actually on the newswire, where it just had a brief introduction to Jason, where it says that Jason grew up around grifters and crooks. After a stint in the army trying to shake off his troubled teens, he found himself in the Keys doing what he knows best, working for local drug runners. It might be time to try something new. Granted that there's not a lot of information here, and maybe Rockstar even wants us to believe that he could be working undercover, but the part that really stands out here is where it says after a stint in the army trying to shake off his troubled teens. Now this shows me that as a young man, he's obviously getting himself into trouble, so what he wants to do is try and turn his life around. So that's why he joined the army. When someone makes a conscious decision to turn their life around like that, they don't just all of a sudden go, hey, you know what, I think I prefer the way things used to be. Normally, if they've had that stint in the army or doing something to turn their life around, it's normally to get away from that old life. Maybe while he was in the army, they saw a lot of potential in him and decided to use his old life to get some street credibility down in the Keys, and that way he could build up his reputation amongst the criminal element and maybe eventually take down a much bigger target. There are also two scenes in the trailer that do get you thinking about Jason's backstory and what his intentions really are. The first one is when he's introduced to Draquan. Draquan directly asks him if he is a Fed. So perhaps he did something that kind of sparked him to be a little bit suspicious of Jason, but it does plant that seed. The other scene that is in the trailer is when you're actually in the police station and you hear the cops talking about looking out for each other. The reason that this scene does stand out for me is that we don't normally see interactions with characters when our character is not involved in the scene. We do actually see someone just on the left hand side, out of shot. You can only see their back and their sleeve. This could very well be Jason being debriefed by his superiors. It does look like a very small meeting, very isolated. It doesn't look like it's in the middle of a police station somewhere where there's a lot of ears around, so there could be some location away from the police station where they meet up and they can get that intel to Jason, or he can feed it back to them. Maybe this is just Rockstar deliberately planting those seeds of doubt for us to speculate on, or maybe they're just dropping those little hints just to show that there is a little bit more to Jason that we're going to be finding out along the way. There are so many little nods in this trailer to the Fast and the Furious, so maybe he is the Brian Connor of our story. But that actually leads us to some of the other characters that we do meet in the trailer and that we do have a little bit more information on. The first one that I do want to talk about is Cal Hampton. We find out that he's Jason's friend and fellow associate of Brian, who we will get to in just a minute. Cal feels safest hanging at home, snooping on Coast Guard comms with a few beers and some private browser tabs open. Now, it doesn't say whether Cal was a friend of Jason's from a young age or just someone that he's met. This could actually make him a mark because he could introduce him to one of the bigger crime figures in the area. So if Jason was Cal's friend before he met Brian, when he introduced him to Brian, it's going to be a lot more unassuming because he's going to vouch for him. So let's talk about Brian. So Brian's a classic drug runner from the golden age of smuggling in the Keys, still moving product through his boatyard with his third wife Laurie. Brian's been around long enough to let others do his dirty work. So it looks like he's been around for quite a while, built up his own little business, but he's probably gotten a little bit lazy and now he's using other people to do the dirty work so that way it doesn't really tie back to him. But when these guys get a little bit lazy, they tend to become a lot more vulnerable to the law. They don't think they're being watched, but they probably are. And this guy here, he's probably got some bigger contacts that the government would really want to get to. Brian is just a small fish in a much bigger pond. If they're sending Jason in undercover, our most likely target is going to be someone leading a cartel or something of that nature that's going to really make a big impact on the criminal element in Vice City. There is one other person that we need to talk about, and that is Lucia. Lucia is hard to know whether she's a mark or just a complication in the whole process. We know that when she gets out of prison, Jason and her already have an established relationship. We know that there was a job that went wrong, which is why she was in prison to start with. Whether or not that involved Jason and he just got away and she took the fall for him, we're not really sure of that just yet. But one thing that we can see from the trailer is she is very keen to be committing crimes. Maybe she just likes the thrill of it. Maybe she does have an end goal in mind. There's something that she's really trying to achieve. But what if she was the daughter of a cartel boss, for example? So if Jason can get close to her, really build up that trust, prove that he's in there for the long run, maybe she will give him the introduction that he needs. Maybe she will lead him to the information that he needs to find so that he can take down the cartel. This actually does create a very interesting dynamic between the two characters because we're not really going to know for a while, I don't think, whether Jason really does care about her or whether he's just using her to get what he wants. But I do think that he will fall for her and we will get that Bonnie and Clyde moment. Maybe when it comes time to arrest her, he's not going to be able to do it and they do try and get away together. This is such a great theory to explore. I don't know whether it's going to be true, but I really hope that it is, because having this kind of a dynamic between characters is something that we haven't seen yet in GTA. It really does give us a very, very interesting story to explore with these characters being from two different worlds. But also, how far will it push Jason? What is he going to be willing to do to keep his cover? What sort of crimes would he actually be committing? Is he going to be just as bad as the element that he's trying to take down? I really do like this idea because it gives us so many different reasons to want to play as both characters and really explore each of their stories. But what do you guys think? Do you think he could be undercover? Do you think that this is just a swerve from Rockstar because people have been suggesting that maybe he is undercover? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and even let me know if there are other things that you picked up in the trailer that could be really worth exploring what they might mean and where the story could lead us. We have just over a year until the game comes out, so there's no harm in theory crafting and discussing the different things that we have been seeing either in the newswire or in the trailer. Even if we go back to the first trailer, if there's something there that you think might match up with what we've been discussing today, just let me know and we might be able to look at another video down the track. Other than that, guys, like and sub, you know the deal. We've got plenty more GTA 6 discussions to come, and don't forget to check out my Assassin's Creed Shadows playthrough. Just click on the link and join me for that adventure. I'd love to have you guys along. Take care, and I'll catch you in the next one.